the women who worked in the war um, did all sorts of things. And I worked in an ordnance plant at Jacksonville, which made detonators and fuses for ammunition. I worked as a government inspector just for that summer, and I lived with one of Mother's sisters who lived in North Little Rock, and I did shift work, and that was an eye-opener for us. I guess I was 18 then, because maybe 17, because you had to be somewhere like that. But anyway, I looked out on that. I got a job as a government inspector just for the summer. The detonators were very small things. They were just about as big around as the end of my little finger, and they were supposed to be smooth on the top, and they would put 50. They would pack, the people who worked on the line would pack 50 of them in a little, I think it was cardboard, probably some kind of box, all flat. And we would have to examine those for burrs, metal spurs that would come up. And we had to reject the whole lot of them if there were 2 or 3 in there that had, maybe it was just one, I don't remember about that. And the other thing we made were fuses for a large gun, and they were 2 or 3 inches long and about an inch in diameter. And they had moving parts inside them and a little hole near the top, and you had to pick one of those up and look through it. In fact, it had 2 holes, and there were parts that were supposed to be moving parts. And if they weren't moving or capable of moving, then we'd have to reject a lot of them. And they had buildings that were designed for burning that ammunition that had to be destroyed. But of course, factories were turning out things as fast as they could for the war effort. I mean, the way the United States geared up for World War II was absolutely astounding, because everybody favored going to the war. I say everybody. There were a few conscientious objectors. In fact, there were some twins who went to ASTC who were conscientious objectors. That meant they were not willing to go fight in a war. Now, a lot of conscientious objectors would go into like the nursing services and that kind of thing, but these people didn't. Anyway.
You see that as a big contrast to some of the wars that have come since then?
Yes, of course. What we have now is volunteer army. We do not have a draft. I don't know when I can't remember when the draft was initiated, but whether it was before, because we were kind of building up our military, but not expecting the Pearl Harbor attack. We were in no way fully prepared for an all-out war. And airplanes started being made, and all kinds of ammunition and guns and artillery kinds of things. We hardly realized, but we were shocked and angered. We were very mad at the Japs, we called them. But it was so much bigger. It was 9/11 1,000 times, more than 1,000 times bigger. Because, well, now, we were never bombed on our homeland. That would be the more shocking thing. It may happen sometime, nuclear war, like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Hiroshima, some people call it. But we were certainly glad for the atomic bomb to be done. And the way that was engineered and produced in total secret, almost total secret. I've read a book about the installation at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where a lot of the atomic materials for the atomic bomb were done. And the people who worked there had no idea, because they were working on one component or another, and they were not supposed to talk about what they were doing. And they had no idea that it was going to be an atomic bomb. It's hard to say it was a good thing to do, because it killed millions and millions of people, but it prevented, hundreds of times more deaths. So it was scary, and it's been a deterrent now for from the 45, that's 55, 60, 75, 78 years since Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. And I think that's the effects of that, the memories of that, and what it could do have been a great thing to keep us from having that kind of devastation again. We're not far from it now, I don't think, sadly. My husband, your granddad, was in the Pacific theater of war, in the all around the islands, the Solomon Islands, the Fiji, New Guinea, the Philippines. In fact, he was in the Philippines when MacArthur made his return to, and that was close to the end of the war. And he was quite a fighter. He went out in the front of enemy fire and rescued some people. He went from the foxhole into enemy fire, and he didn't speak much, like other veterans, didn't speak much about the war, but he did comment one time about, a dead Jap falling in the hole with him. And at that time, of course, the Japanese, and this Jap was a derogatory term, of course, and after the war was over, it very soon changed back, and it was always shocking to me about how quickly after the war we became friends rather than enemies with Japan, and have been great trading partners with them for a long time. And of course they had a great culture. But there's all that problem of the war and the terrible devastation of it and the islands, and they built trenches and all sorts of places to take refuge, dug back into the mountains and hills in those islands, and so they were very, very dangerous. But anyway, he did rescue some people, I don't know how many, from the firing, the shooting. And he received a Silver Star, which is one of the highest awards that the military gives in the country.